This is a wonderful time, capping off a great school year, and I really appreciate everybody coming. It's a time when there are so many people that need to be recognized that it's hard to get everybody, but we're going to try to do as much as we can. And first and foremost, I would like to recognize the Millard County School Board that's with us this evening, from President Carol Kimball to Beverly DeWeiss, Ron Draper, and Adam Britt, and Daniel Anderson, who are here with us. And so welcome to the Millard County School Board. I'd also like to welcome Superintendent Dave Styler. Welcome. And Keith is one of those kind of people that is kind of in the background a little bit, but I've come to know him as a real friend. So I just really want to welcome Keith Griffiths, the business manager of Millard County. There's also others that need to be recognized and thanked for all of their support. And we couldn't do what we do without the support of the White Pine School Board. And from Superintendent Dozal, the person that we have in our local area, Denise Coyle, and I would just like to thank them. There's an organization in our area of the country that over the years have been outstanding, not only for what they contribute, but for the service that they provide. And none of us would be able to survive where we are without the service that this company gives us, and that is Mount Wheeler Power. If you'll take a look at the graduation program, the kids come up every year with a theme, and the theme is from Albert Einstein, and it says, "Strive not to be a success, but rather to be of value." And this is a wonderful thought, but I struggle sometimes in figuring out, what does that really mean? And strive not to be a success, but rather to be of value. Okay, well, it's rather a nice thought, but how can we put that in a way that really makes sense? One of my most favorite poets, it's Langston Hughes. His poetry is, I thrill every time I read his poetry. It's great. And I've read this poem before, and it always strikes me as kind of encapsulating that thought from Albert Einstein in a way that is unmistakable. And I'd like to read it to you. This is a poem by Langston Hughes called Mother to Son. Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor. Bare. But all the time, I've been a-climbing on, and reaching landings, and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark, where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you set down on the steps, 'cause you kind of find it hard. Don't you fall now, for I still going on, honey. I still climbing, and life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Wonderful poem. But that encapsulates that idea that this is a time not to sit back. This is not a time to take your ease. This is a time to move forward. And that's what these graduates are doing tonight, is taking that next step. And I encourage them to do that every day and every moment of the day, that as they move toward the future, at the future successes, but also those hard times, that they will run into those hard times, but they just make you strong. And that's what I believe every one of our graduates will be in the future, is strong. At this time, I'd like to have John Conrad come forward, and we're going to have an opening prayer.
Our righteous Father in heaven, we're aware of the many blessings that we enjoy in this great country and the beautiful place that we live here in Snake Valley. And today we take a moment to reflect upon it and to thank you for every good thing we have, every good gift, and for the people that you bless us with in our lives. We thank you that you give us these rites of passage, graduations, that help knit us together as community and remind us of the tremendous blessings we have in the ability and the opportunity to learn, to know, to discover the beauties of this great creation. We ask your blessing upon the activities of the evening. Thank you for all the students, teachers, parents, every single person that's involved, and for the tremendous debt we owe to all of them. And Lord, in everything we do, we give you the honor and the thanks. In Jesus Christ's name, amen.
I'd like Ms. Tim to come up at this point, and she will give the 8th grade certificates of promotion.
All right. If Ambry and Heston would come up. I don't think Justin's here, right? I would like to, Ricky, but we already did this. Heston's not here either? Oh, okay.
I'm the only one that gets there.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Millard County School District Certificate of Promotion. This certifies that Ambry Morehouse has been promoted to the 9th grade this 22nd day of May 2014 at EskDale High School. You want me to give these? All right, we'll go ahead and bring the 7th graders up. So if you're in 7th grade, soon to be 8th grade, don't be shy. Let's go. I know there are more of you. Where did the rest of them go? Where's Dulcia? Riley? Dulcia? Okay, we'll get them in here when they get here. All right, so this certifies that these kids have been promoted to the 8th grade. So first we have Jamie Waite. Melanie Heckathorn. Megan Baker. Carson Wright. Delcia Villarreal. Sorry, Delcia. Vincent Palfreman. And Riley Vaughn. Big group. Thank you.
This next year, Ms. Tim is going to be teaching at Fillmore Elementary School. And I just want to personally give her a vote of thanks for what she's contributed and done in the junior high school here at EskDale. So. We have students in the school that just do outstanding. And this year we have several, and I would like to honor them with high honor and honor medals. And so when I call your name, I'd like you to come forward, if you will, and let us honor you. So I'd like to have Lauren Palfreyman come. Lauren performed at a 4.0 grade point average this year, ninth grade, so that is wonderful. Emily Waite. Emily also performed at a 4.0 GPA. Congratulations to you. And the other one we have up on the stand, so I guess I could just throw it at her, but I don't know that I'll do that. But Alicia Baker. For our honor students, I'd like to have them come forward. Caleb Baker. I don't know if this runs in the family, but he's taller than Alicia, but he's just a little bit less, 3.9. So, congratulations. One of our students is up in Oregon at this time. My brother-in-law is in real bad shape at this point. Lois is up there with him and getting weaker and weaker. And at this point, it's a matter of just waiting. So I would appreciate your prayers for him as well as Lois. But Tina, my niece, is up there with her family, so she will not be receiving a medal tonight, even though I will give it to her. So, and then our final honoree tonight, Taryn Childs.
All right, I am so not a speech person. So it's pretty much all written down here, and if I don't look up, I'm sorry. Okay, so I know all of you out there are either breathing a sigh of relief, glad that I'm here, or scratching your head wondering how I got here. But here I am. I never would have gotten here without all of the help and support of so many people. Seriously, how do people get through those long weeks of school without cookies from Kenneth? And I know that I never would have passed that English 1010 class without being able to go to Sharon and ask her all of my questions about MLA and what she thought the teacher wanted when I didn't know what the heck it was supposed to be about. Without Stella and her patience, I'm not so sure that many of us would have made it through our junior high years. And now you're leaving when I'm leaving, so it's because you couldn't stand to be without me, right? Without Lois and her passion and love for music, I never would have joined choir or orchestra. And without choir or anything else, I would have missed out on so many great opportunities like choir trips and even just performing at the U this year for state. Without Mr. Faber, I never would have finished my online classes. They were awful. Without Teresa, I never would have understood math well enough to do any more than the required math classes, but with her help and everything, I did a lot, and I even got through calculus. Even with all of that, the people I need to thank the most are my parents. They have always been so helpful and so supportive of everything I've done. They go to all of the concerts and as many of the track meets as they were able to. They have always been there to help me with my homework, even if I had to stop asking them after 9th grade for math homework help. And even though I'm really good at complaining about everything, they taught me to work hard and to do it through all of the complaining. I also have to thank Brianna for being there and for being my best friend. And I know that even though we won't see each other every day, we will still be good friends. Okay, well, I was told I needed to end on an inspirational note, but I don't really know anything inspirational to say. So just keep working hard and never give up. If you want something, just go for it. And here's something sort of inspirational. On Dancing with the Stars, they have that girl who's from the Paralympics without legs, and they said that she says she likes to live outside of her limitations. The only limitations you have are the ones that you set for yourself.
I can almost see it, that dream I'm dreaming, but there's a voice inside my head saying you'll never reach it. Every step I'm taking, every move I make feels lost with no direction. My faith is shaken, but I gotta keep trying. Gotta keep my head held high. There's always gonna be another mountain. I'm always gonna wanna make it move. Always gonna be an uphill battle. Sometimes I'm gonna have to lose. Ain't about how fast I get there. Ain't about what's waiting on the other side. Is the cloud.
I wrote the very end of this really late one night, so if I start stumbling and it sounds weird, I'm sorry, because it made sense in my head at the time, and so if it didn't, I'm sorry. Good evening, friends, families, teachers, district members, parents, and fellow graduates, class of 2014. I would like to thank everyone who's here today, who all came to witness this miracle. Yes, me graduating. Who would have thought? First off, I'd like to start off by saying this speech might be a little long. So if you want, go ahead and sit back and relax, because sadly, I am not a short and simple kind of guy. If you didn't know, I like to talk. So, all right. Well, I would like to start off by thanking the ones responsible for this miracle today, my parents. I would just like to say thank you for being so supportive of everything I do and encouraging me in my sports, music, and schooling. I know sometimes I've been difficult and made you worry, but you guys still continue to be there, and for that, I will always love you guys. Also, I would like to thank my teachers for putting up with me all these years. Stella, thank you so much for putting up with me all through junior high, even though I was incredibly obnoxious, always talking in your classes. You never quit encouraging me and trying your best to make school fun for all of us. I especially want to thank you for volunteering your time to be our coach in basketball. Without you, we wouldn't have had an opportunity to do that and had so much fun as we did doing it. Or have experienced what it's like to work on a team sport and compete physically against other schools. Some of my best memories have come from basketball. Pain, sweat, tears, smiles, baskets, and all. I hope you know how much it means to us. Thank you. Next, I would like to thank Teresa. Again, I know I can be such an obnoxious person when I can't keep my big mouth shut and talking any chance I get to the person next to me in the class. I just want you to know I've always enjoyed all of your classes, from history to physics to geography to math. I'd really like to thank you for always challenging me in my classes. You always told me how smart you believed we all were, telling us we could always do equations in math just as fast as you could, if not faster. That motivated me to want to work harder, to be that person you knew all along that we could be. Sometimes I'd feel embarrassed not being able to understand something when everyone else, well, got it so easily. But you made it feel so easy and okay to ask for help that I never felt like I lacked intelligence asking you to explain things again and again, even if it took several times. I now feel more confident asking for help, knowing just because you ask for help, extra help, doesn't mean you're not smart, but that you strive to be smart because you're putting more effort into learning. So thank you. Now, I know Lois couldn't be here today, but I'd still like to thank her for sparking a new passion in me I never thought I had. The first day I came to EskDale, I didn't feel this school was for me. I loved sports, and music just didn't interest me, and it was beyond my comfort zone. But you, Lois, you saw potential in me, and as hard of a time as I gave you at times, you, yes, guys, with more talking, you still continued to make music a greater time, adventure, hobby, and experience that I never would have thought. Not only do I have a great appreciation for music, but now when I listen to music, I don't just hear a melody, but I hear harmonies, different rhythms, phrasing, emotions, and so much more, and that's only without even adding the words. I love music, I love singing, and I'm so grateful I got to learn all this from you. You always said when we did well that we rose to the challenge and succeeded. Well, you challenged us, and we rose with your strength every step of the way. We could never have done it without you. You showed me that school size doesn't matter. It doesn't limit the greatness we can achieve. If you're willing to work hard for it, and it helps to have, well, if you're willing to work hard, and it helps to have an amazing teacher with so much heart, you can be great no matter where you are. So thank you, Lois. Greg, Mr. Faber, thank you for everything. I know you worked hard for us to have opportunities in sports, such as track, cross country, and basketball. From cross country trips, driving us all around to all of our meets, researching ways for us to improve our running skills, and always making sure we always got a workout. To track and field, making sure we always had our equipment and went out running our best to our best abilities. I still remember that time in 9th grade. I kept begging you for sports when you recommended running. I thought first, what? Running's a sport? Wanting to do sports so bad, I decided, well, let's give it a shot. We got Noah to join in on the team, so we were a two-man team, the smallest in our region by far. I still remembered one of my first races in Delta. I got second to last of 42 runners in the mile. I ran a 5:58, not my greatest race. I was so nervous, I went out hard the first lap, and man was I exhausted, but I was even more exhausted when I found out I had to run 3 more. But still, after that race, Mr. Favors still encouraged me, and although he was proud of me for running when I felt was an awful run, you know what he said? I know you can do better. I've held on to those words because of that day. I know at first in some of the challenges and obstacles I face in the future, yes, I may not do the greatest I'd be hoping for, but if I keep working, I know I can keep getting better. Even if I don't get first, I will still continue to get better. This year, I got an opportunity to go to state and even get a medal there. I also finally broke a 5-minute mile at 4:59. I've never gotten a first at state, but you know, that's okay. I still feel like a winner, especially from going from a 2-man team in my freshman year to a 14-man team my senior year. I wouldn't trade my team for anyone and those experiences. I think that's a great accomplishment, better than any first place. Thank you, Mr. Faber, for making all this possible and to show me that if we continue to work hard, we won't only improve, but the sport becomes more fun. It's influential. Finally, I just have to say how happy I am to have come here. I'm sure when we all first come here, we don't know what to expect. What we're after, we may still not know. But one thing I love out here more than anything is our friendships we built throughout the years. And I don't think we realize how important those relationships are sometimes. We go through our lives feeling like we're leaving a part of us behind or something. At least that's how I felt about today. When what we've experienced here at school through our lives, those 12 long, torturous years, grew something so much greater than we could ever imagine. Home is where the heart is. Oh, so I've heard. But what makes something home? I believe it's the friends and family that you're surrounded by, that you feel very close to, that you love. No matter where I end up in this place, this place will always feel like home. Just because we're off to live our lives doesn't mean it's goodbye, and it doesn't mean the bonds you have with people suddenly go away or don't mean anything. In fact, with time, I believe they get better. As we go out to explore more of the world, which who knew there was more outside our little Snake Valley, this beautiful desert. I hope we can remember the bonds we have with people and form new ones without letting go of the ones we have already. This valley is a family. We are a family. Sometimes we do things for people out here solely for their own gain because we care about them. I just want everyone going to school right now to know, do the best you can to get along. Work things out, communicate, show compassion with the people in your life. Be yourselves. Out here, we can't easily avoid people or our feelings when we are upset towards them. We see them every day, everywhere we go. Don't spend your time being angry, being sad at people, no matter where you go in life. Work hard, encourage, be yourself, and find a passion. And remember, we aren't perfect. We spend so much time worrying about what someone thinks about us that we don't cherish the time we have. We waste our words, we waste our moments, and we don't take the time to enjoy the time we have before we go out and find, well, what we want from life. I'm going to miss everyone, but I will be back. I love you guys. Yup, all of you. You know, I thought this would be an emotional enough time that I might cry. But as I once heard this saying, you don't cry because it's over, but smile because it happened. With all these great memories of you guys, you may have me smiling all summer, maybe even longer. Well, if I didn't have to go to college, that is. That's right, guys, I'm going to college. So I'm sorry for whichever one of you lost that bet. So these should not be the best, high school should not be the best days of your life, even if they were great. I believe our lives will only continue to get better from here. Let's all chase our dreams, make goals, and search for that one thing we love to do. Isn't that what life is about? Experiences life to our best abilities and share ourselves through it all, whether it be our talents, our goals, our accomplishments, our accomplishments, or even something embarrassing you did that you may never do again. On second thought, you may not want to talk about that one. But we are all afraid to go out there, out of our comfort zone, to go beyond ourselves. But I believe through life we will only get better. And I leave you with this saying: I'm not as good as I could be. I'm not as good as I should be, but I'm better than I was before. Thank you. Okay. When I look around me, my heart fills up with memories of trials great and strong. I have made it all to make me strong. So many things I've learned now, and still so much I'm learning. The heartbreak, grief, and suffering will not be for nothing. Redemption never dies. Dragons and hell cannot prevail against me. I will press on, I will not fail my destiny. Obstacles of fear and pain can't hold me away from the life I know I'm called to live, bringing love to each day. Even when I'm lost and start losing who I am, I'll hold on to hope, 'cause I know God has a plan. Every trial has a way to help me climb higher every day. Dragons and hell cannot prevail against me. I will press on, I will not fail my destiny. Obstacles of fear and pain can't hold me away from the life I know I'm called to live, bringing love to each day. Now as I look around me, I see my friends and family. You each have done your share of helping me prepare to live my life. Dragons and hell cannot prevail against me. I will press on, I will not fail my destiny. Obstacles of fear and pain can't hold me away from the life I know I'm called to live, bringing love to each day. I will press on through every storm. I will press on through every storm. I will press on. I will press on.
Commencement address to the graduating class of 2014 of EskDale High School. Congratulations to the class of 2014, Hector, Alicia, and Sandra. As you've heard, tonight's thematic message offers a quote by Albert Einstein: "Strive not to be a success, but rather to be of value." You'll have to agree that this thought bears careful consideration and sets a very high standard. But despite this incredibly significant contribution to man's understanding of the universe, Albert Einstein never won a Nobel Peace Prize. Such a mind. Oh, and one other thing, he never wore socks. If I succeed in my presentation, hopefully you'll remember more than he never wore socks. Strive not to be a success, but rather be of value. To help bring value to a successfully reached goal, it may be useful to seek out and enjoy new opportunities. Giving this address is a great honor and a new opportunity for me, more so than you will ever know. This story begins with my own high school graduation in Westwood High in 1970. I was the salutatorian in a class of 32. I was captain on the football team, winning 4 games in 4 years. And the class vice president. But I was not about to give the obligatory commencement speech before the whole town at once gathered in the high school auditorium. I was too petrified at the thought of getting up and speaking to such a large group of people, even if they were only family, friends, and neighbors. The thought of it chilled me to the bone. I just couldn't do it. I said no, and I stuck with it. I can imagine you see the irony now with me standing here in this situation. By the way, my definition of irony is finding yourself in a set of circumstances in which God has the last laugh. Here I am speaking to you, but only after a lifetime of opportunities, and now I have all the confidence necessary to do it. Since it wasn't always so, I decided a long time ago if I wanted to be a success in the things I'd hoped for, I would have to be able to express my thoughts in front of a group of people. It took time to get over my fears. But more so, it took seeking out and embracing opportunities as they presented themselves to build up my confidence. And along the way, one of the joys for me in those opportunities has just happened to take the form of being invited to recite cowboy poetry, which I personally think has value to the world. Strive not to be a success, but rather be of value. To achieve this goal, you must greet opportunities, take joy in making things of value happen. Often, to be a success in your life, it is hugely important to be willing to come to the aid of another. We are all in this together, and the sooner we realize it, the better our lives will work. Polarization and self-centered interest cannot begin to add the value that working in community brings. We should never be reluctant to lend our help if we can. I'm reminded of a visit to the circus with my grandpa in Susanville, California as an 8 or 9-year-old. At that circus, it was possible to purchase souvenirs from vendors on the way into the grandstands. Somehow I persuaded my grandfather into letting me buy a little 3-inch sheath knife with a compass in the bone handle as we entered. I was very proud of it and put it in my front pocket for safekeeping. We went into the grandstands, found our seats, and soon the show began. Somewhere in the middle of the program, the action slowed, and a gorilla was brought out into the arena in a large cage. Unattended, he soon got out. That gorilla headed for the stands. Unbelievably, he headed straight for my grandfather. There he stood right on the other side of my grandpa playing with his bald head. Of course, it was really a man in a gorilla suit and probably one of Grandpa's friends. My grandfather had been on the county school board and was very well thought of in our area. But meanwhile, this 9-year-old kid with his hand on a pointy little knife in his pocket was just waiting for a sign to take action if matters got any worse. I was ready to do battle with a wild gorilla if it meant saving the grandpa that I loved from harm. Of course, eventually the gorilla got back into his cage without further incident, and thus any bloodshed was avoided. Nevertheless, that gorilla, or man, never knew how close he came to being stabbed in the leg. Strive not to be a success, but rather be a value. Success may already be secure, but be willing to go to another's aid. But being willing to go to another's aid, therein lies the real value. Maybe sometimes the missing element in bringing value and success to a situation is the ability to just persist. By being persistent, we can often see things through to their best end. In my first summer as a newbie park ranger at Capitol Reef National Park, the superintendent or chief of interpretation had allowed the local Coke distributor to place a Coke machine outside the front door of the park's visitor center for the sale of cold sodas to the public. But this was no ordinary Coke machine. It was a talking Coke machine. Every once in a while, you would hear, "How about an ice-cold Coca-Cola?" Or something like that. And on purchase, if you were a little too slow in putting your money into the coin slot, it would say, "You need to put in more money," repeatedly. Now, this was my first job and admitted as a park ranger, and admittedly I was a little naive and rather idealistic. I did not like that machine, and felt it had no place in a national park, one of America's treasures. As you can imagine, being a young buck ranger, I had little to say in these things, yet I kept my peace. But when the late evening shift in the campground fell to me, as it often did, I'd make sure that before I headed home for the night, I'd put a lone nickel in the Coke machine. And as a result, all night long throughout the summer, the talking Coke machine would say, "You need to put in more money. You need to put in more money." And by the end of the summer, it somehow had worn out. After only one season of use, the talking part mysteriously broke. It never got replaced. Strive not to be a success, but rather be a value. Sometimes, to achieve a measure of value, you must often persist, even when you feel like quitting. Finally, I'd like to bring to To bring value to a thing or situation, try not to be too rigid in your thinking, but rather opt for flexibility. As my last example, I'd like to consider the process of working with wood as a metaphor for accepting life situations. I love to carve wood and make wooden things, sometimes with old juniper stumps found on our property. Recently, I've learned to carve what are known as friendship spoons from this found wood. The history of friendship spoon endures, going back hundreds of years, with no two are usually alike. I happen to have a spoon for each of the graduates. Okay. That in mind, one of the great lessons that I've learned in many years, many hours of years and hours of woodworking is that the grain of the wood will often dictate the ultimate shape of the piece being worked. You begin with a design in mind, but is more often subject to change as the piece takes shape. I'm hesitant to say that I, the carver, actually have created something because it is as though the real work was just waiting to come out and take final form. And just as everything is not in our control, I have found that the grain and the nature of the wood will have their final say in the end. And here's the point. Life is much the same. Sometimes for all of our best planning, we just have to wait and hope and pray for the best outcome. If we are too rigid in how we respond to our circumstances, we may be disappointed. However, by having a more flexible attitude, the final outcome may emerge as something better than we ever could have imagined. The value of our lives has everything to do with a good attitude and our willingness to live it. And there you have it. Seek out and enjoy opportunities. Be willing to come to the aid of another. Be persistent. Adopt an attitude of greater flexibility. It's simple. Just do all this and a bunch of other stuff. As you strive not to be a success, but rather to be of value. And above all, just try to keep your socks on, as you all have great futures. Thank you for listening, and thank you for helping make this such a special place to live. Congratulations to the class of 2014. Please bless us all.
If I could have the choir come forward.
Drawn to the candle, I am drawn to future's fire. Lift my wings and let Giving my life and flying closer to the flame. Like a moth drawn to the candle, I am drawn to future's fire. Lift my wings and let me fly. Let me fly closer to the flame. Like a moth drawn to the candle, I am drawn to future's fire. Lift my wings and let me fly. Let me fly closer to the flame. I'll fly closer to the flame. Ever closer to the flame. Is the future. Flying closer to the flame. Ever closer to the flame. Ever closer to the flame.
Good evening, friends and neighbors. It's a great honor for me to be here tonight. I'm especially honored to have been on this stage while the great choir spoke. I said to Andy and I, he says, this is a different perspective being up here behind the choir. And I says, we're part of the choir. We can just feel free to go ahead and sing with you. And so we were there singing with you. So one of the things I'm really proud of is to be here, because I feel like I'm part of EskDale High School, and that it's part of our school district. I'm very honored to be here. I really like you people out here in EskDale. I just hear all my friends out there. I know many of you. There's some of you I don't know as well. But to be part of this organization, to be part of your school and community in a sense, even though we're a little bit off, in Delta, 90 miles away, we still feel part of this. As we've been out here at these programs, the Christmas programs, the musicals, I think there's just magic out here. And I've thought, we come out here sort of in the middle of the desert, and this group of people, young people, who they sing, they perform, everyone can sing, everyone can play an instrument, everyone is part of the school play or the musical, and the community is all here together. The Christmas dinner is so spectacular. You've got great graduates who bring their great cooking skills back, and it's just such an elegant dinner. And just think, here we are, and nobody knows, nobody is really aware of what a great thing we have out here in this community, this high school, and this school program. A few years ago, I was able to listen. I was at a national convention for the National School Board Association, and Melinda Gates, the other half of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, spoke about how they're trying to change the world. Bill and his wife Melinda has taken their millions, billions that they gained from Microsoft, I guess was, and they're trying to put in how to make the world better. Out in the world, they're trying to help solve health problems, diseases. But in the United States, they're trying to make high schools better. And they're spending millions of dollars trying to make high schools look like EskDale High School. And I don't know if they're succeeding. Yeah. And what they want is a small high school where the teachers and administration have a close relationship with the students, care about the students, know the students, and help the students along. I graduated from Davis High, which when I graduated a long time ago, there were, I think, 300 in our graduating class. I think there's might even be 1,000 in their graduating class. To be in their school musical now, you apparently have to try out to be in the drama class, and if you make it into the drama class, you then have to try out to be in the musical. So only very, very small people. You can't just say, well, maybe I want to be in the school musical. But here, everyone, I think perhaps I try to count it, 20 people here. I think the student body is 25. I think everyone's in the choir. I'm not sure if I miscounted or there's somebody who might be sick or gone tonight. But everyone in this school learns how to sing. When I was in school, I didn't learn how to sing. In fact, I was perhaps encouraged not to sing. But here, everyone can. You gain this, and I think that's one of the greatest things with music. You gain this can-do attitude that you can sing, you gain confidence, that every one of the graduates got to speak, sing, or do both. And that was just a great opportunity. And even at Delta High, which is a relatively small school, 5 or so out of the 100 and so graduates got to speak. Here, everyone who graduates gets to do something, and that's something that you can't gain in the large high school. And you come out of here, I believe, with a can-do attitude that you can go out into the world and succeed because you've achieved success, you've found people who care about you. I think as Hector was in his talk, was talking about, and I think Alicia also, both of them talked about how they got here, their teachers, administration, their parents, the community, brought them to this point. And I think it's really what we have here is a very caring community who've brought them to where they are and have that attitude and say, how do we succeed in the world? I was noticing when the graduates in whenever we've been a week of graduations, which I think is really exciting for us. It's sort of like the frosting on the cake. And then one graduate I noticed in particular came just smiling, happy, shook her hand with a firm handshake and say, why does he have that confidence? And he learned, I think, from the same kind of things you people hear. How did Hector give up? Sing his song, which Kaya wrote, another graduate of the EskDale High School. They've gained this confidence and they can go out into the world and succeed. And a very exciting thing. I'd like to talk just a little bit, a minute more, about some of the challenges. It's not, some ways we say you're the best, you're the greatest. Now I've said that already. Now there's some challenges as you go out there. It may not all be easy. No, we should just say go out and do it, and and then just you're on your own. You've had this great community support. Now you're on your own. There is some risks and some challenges out there. And I was going to introduce it to a little bit of two movies. Now, there's always a blockbuster movies of the summer. I think the two this year is Spider-Man 2 and Godzilla. Unfortunately, I haven't seen either one of them, but maybe I'll get to them. But back when I graduated from high school, and the great was the movie of the year I graduated was Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Has been thought over the years has been one of the greatest movies. It's often in the top 10 of movies. And there's one line particularly I like from it, as Butch, as played by Paul Newman, is out with Robert Redford, the Sundance Kid, and they're out riding along talking about things, and Butch says, I've got vision, and the rest of the world wears bifocals. And I thought that's a key thing. He could see, how did he lead his great band of bank robbers? Now, we're not necessarily encouraging you to be bank robbers, but he had vision, and no one else had vision, and that's why he succeeded. And at the end of the movie, and I think that's another great scene that's stuck in my mind. Those who've seen the movie, you haven't seen the movie, go and see the movie. It's playing in a theater near you, I'm sure. That they're in Bolivia. They've gone down to Bolivia to rob banks, and they're in this holed up in this place. And there's 1,000 Bolivian soldiers around them, and they're in there, and they're in there talking, and one of them's been shot. And they're perhaps dying, and they're talking about things. And Butch says to the Sundance, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? So we're going to go to Australia next. And so they're just bank robbers, banks just waiting to be robbed. The field's green, just great. And we just need to go out there, and we're going to be in Australia in no time at all. We're going to do the thing we love most, which is robbing banks. And so then the movie ends, and so they pick up their guns, and it ends, if you remember that scene, they run out the door with their guns blazing, and then the film stops. It just ends there with they're showing them their bright-eyed wonderment heading out into the world, and you hear as the closing credits roll, thousands of shots just going on as 1,000 Bolivian soldiers are shooting at them. They have no chance at all, but they believe they can. The interesting thing is nobody really knows whether they were killed in that. There's still stories I read recently in the paper about a man saying remembers Butch coming by as an old man in the farms, and he's raised in beaver and out in the Vernal area. So did they survive the 1,000 soldiers? Did they go to Australia? But we never know. But they left believing that they could do it. And I think that's a key thing. They believed, they had this goal, they had this vision. A second, very quickly, a movie, The Philadelphia Story, with Tom Hanks starred in it. And it was about some young men who had great problems, medical problems. I think AIDS was part of the issue in his version of The Philadelphia Story, dying and how they survive in all these challenges and their financial, all these things going on. And he says this one line that just stuck to me: for every problem, there is a solution. And that just stuck me. We're faced with great problems. People come and say, oh, there's problems, what do we do? We don't. And there's problems I have that I don't know the solution right now, but I remember this phrase: for every problem, there is a solution. So as you go out into this cold, gray world, far away from here where you've got this great community supporting you, remember the support of your family, the teachers, the people, the community who care about you, your neighbors and other people. And remember, as you face these problems and challenges, for every problem there is a solution. It takes work, and it's not as easy just saying, well, I'll just go and do it. You have to study and find the solution. And then as you find that, there is a solution. And it's kind of ending up with one last thing, your theme here, which I liked, says, strive not to be success, but rather to be of value. And one last thing, I kind of believe in lifelong education. And so I keep trying to go into school, maybe much to my wife's dismay, that I keep spending all our money on school. And I'm a student of USU Delta, and I'm taking Sociology 1010. Maybe you've already taken that over as advanced placement. But and I had 2 tests I had to take today before I could come out. But there is a quote in here that I thought just applies to this. It says every year they give a survey to 200,000 entering college students about what their values are, and they think this, because this survey focuses on an array of issues, beliefs, and life goals, is commonly cited as a barometer of the nation's values. And interesting, in the 60s, perhaps back when I graduated from high school, that one of the top values in that time was, it says, developing a meaningful philosophy of life, and that was the most popular in 1967. That was actually before me. And it's endorsed by 85% of the respondents. What they wanted to do was develop a meaningful philosophy of life. That number has now dropped to somewhere around 40% now. But on the opposite end, at the same time, the value of being very well off financially, which is 40% in the 1960s, is now in the 80s%. That is time that people have gone from, I want to have a meaningful purpose in life, 80% of them, to 40%. 80% now want to be financially well off. And that's a little bit disturbing. I like your theme here is strive not to be a success, but rather to be of value. Clearly, we need to have financial means. We can't keep doing things without, we need to pay the mortgage, we need to buy food, we need to go and rent movies so we can have things to talk about in graduation. Need to have money to keep going to school. So you need money, but that shouldn't be, in my view, your end goal, to be financially well off, but have a meaningful purpose in life. And I think as you come out of here, the things you said, what I see in you people, you have that. And I hope as you go forward, you'll have vision. All of these people who've got bifocals who are just thinking about making money, you've got vision like Paul Newman. You're going to make it to Australia. You're going to rob the biggest banks there. And to know that your family and the people who care about you will be with you. And I hope you can do that. And I really enjoy this. And it's a great honor to be with you tonight. Thank you.
This is the best part of this whole operation, is handing out these pieces of paper. I don't know how a piece of paper gets to be so valuable, but this one certainly is. And so I can't be more proud of our 3 graduates this evening. It is just, they're special. As I give these diplomas out with the help of the school board, I'm just going to say a couple of things just about each one of them. And our first one is Sandra. Now, Sandra is extremely special, and I'll tell you why. When Sandra came, she had real struggles dealing with language, dealing with culture, dealing with a whole raft of things. But I cannot tell you, every time that we came and dealt with Sandra and said, Sandra, maybe you ought to think about doing this. Maybe you got to correct this mistake or something like that. You know what she invariably did? She said, oh yeah, I can do that. I can do that. And she did. And we had her doing a bunch of classes online, and she says, I don't know if I can do this. And I said, yeah, you can. And here's how you do it. And she says, okay, I'll do it. And so, as you heard her tonight, she is a wonderful, wonderful student, and I really appreciate having the time to have spent with her in school. Congratulations, Sandra.
Thank you.
You can just go. The next one is Hector Torres. I want to say something special about Hector.
Okay.
You know, Hector is one of those people that is almost eternally optimistic. And he can talk too. So that's good. But every time we were out doing whatever we were doing, running or whatever it may be, Hector has a spirit within him that is just so valuable. And that is, he's able to help the other kids to get on. And he says, we can do this. Come on, I'll help you. Let's go out and run. Let's go out and do this. Here, let me show you how I can do it. And this may help you to get faster or better. And so I really appreciate Hector and the support that he's given for everyone that he's been around. Thanks, Hector. Congratulations. Our next graduate is Alicia Baker. We were recently at a state track championship in Provo, and Alicia got chosen for a specific honor. And it was interesting as they were filing out to receive this honor. You know, they were going to announce the names and everything. And it was curious that out of the whole stadium in Provo, Utah, there were 4 voices that shouted out, "Yay, Alicia!" And that was Tom and Janelle and Lois and I. And so we were there. I am so proud of Alicia. She got academic all-state. The GPA average of that group of kids from all over the state, all 1A schools, was 3.994. And so that's great. Congratulations, Alicia. Oh, and I got one other thing for you. So hang on just a second. Alicia is our 2014 valedictorian. There's one other person that I'm going to mention. I told him beforehand that I was not going to embarrass him. And I wasn't going to call him up front and give him all of the stuff that goes with, all of the congratulations that goes with what he did. But I have to mention him. I have to speak about him for just a moment. And I want to congratulate Johnny Sandoval this year. What Johnny did in December was pass his GED. And that is a monumental accomplishment. And I just want to recognize him for that. Hopefully I didn't embarrass him. I didn't. We are sincerely grateful for everybody to come out and share this time with the graduates. Without you, it would be impossible. And so I thank you from my heart, all the support and everything that you provide as parents and as families and just supporters in the community. Thank you so much. Now, this time, you're sure welcome, everyone, to come up and congratulate the graduates. And also, after you're done congratulating, there are some treats over in EskDale Center, the community center, right next door. So you're welcome to go over there and I believe it's cheesecake. If you don't like cheesecake, you should like cheesecake because it is wonderful, really good. So thanks for coming once again.